going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your Money in the Bank 2023, and also, because they're in the UK, I'm also going to talk a little bit about SmackDown preview, and yeah, looking at my own channel, other than Collision, because obviously I was going to do a video about Collision, I haven't done any content for you guys in like 3 weeks because stuff has piled up and I've been busy, and, you know, I spent a weekend doing AEW stuff in Toronto, which was awesome. I want to give them all the credit in the world. I have a lot of bad things to say about AEW, and they're still mostly true, but I finally got to sing Judas live in an arena. And I got to see CM Punk, who was getting screwed over by them not too long ago. But in all seriousness, Collision was awesome. I was on the floor of Scotiabank Arena. Next night, not quite the same thing. High up in the 300s for Forbidden Door, which was also a pretty fucking amazing show. And even though I don't like one and I'm not really that familiar with the other one, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. Fucking amazing match. Match of the weekend. But yeah. Got to see CM Punk. Huge bucket list thing for me to see CM Punk wrestle live. Putting aside the politics between him and you know, basically getting fucked over by AEW. Really big bucket list thing for me to get to see CM Punk live. I've got, if you guys go to my Twitter right now, I've got a really awesome shot there from the 4-on-4 match from Collision, and it's him squaring off with Jay White, which is something that has to be on the radar in the future if TK hasn't gone heavy into his cocaine today. So that was cool. The other thing, and I said this on Twitter, and I've said this in a couple of other places already, and it's a super sentimental thing on my part, but if you guys will remember, and I said this a lot, I said this in collabs with Jake and with Guapo and with other people, Chris Jericho and the whole Fozzy thing, the whole Judas thing. When COVID hit and we weren't able to have crowds and whatnot, and you know, him getting his song sung as he came to the ring was just becoming a thing, and then we lost audiences. And I said over and over again, like, outside of what wrestlers you like, outside of, you know, WWE versus AEW, etc., Judas was really sort of becoming like the wrestling fans' anthem. I mean, people sing along with other things. People sing along with Punk's entrance, they sing along with Edge's entrance, they sing along with Cody's entrance. Cody's entrance, Kingdom, is also really cool. But Judas really sort of became that anthem of, like, I can't wait to see people in the crowds again, I can't wait to see crowds on my TV again, and I can't wait to be in a crowd again. And so one of the coolest things for me this past weekend wasn't any one particular match. It wasn't Collision versus the pay-per-view, because obviously those are two very different experiences, but really awesome to be on the floor of Scotiabank Arena with people absolutely screaming the lyrics to Judas after I've looked at it that way for so long. So that was a really cool, like, sentimental bucket, like I say again, like bucket list type of thing, and I got to see a whole bunch of wrestlers that I've never seen live before. I mean, for all I don't really like them, the Elite are fun to watch live. I'll give them that. The fact that the only person on their team that I actually liked was Tomohiro Ishii, and seeing some of the Japanese wrestlers that I've only heard of before, like Okada and Tomohiro Ishii, who I really enjoy on television, but I'd never seen live. I mean, obviously, because he left WWE, it's been a long time since I've seen Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose live. Even though I was never a fan of Daniel Bryan before he came to WWE, I've heard about the Final Countdown and him using that as his entrance and whatever, so that was really cool. And to be in the crowd while the whole crowd goes, hey, wait a minute, you know, the groundswell and then the pop, and then again the lyrics thing is fine. I will say the Judas thing really awesome, the Punk thing really awesome. Bryan Danielson getting Final Countdown as his entrance as a special thing for Forbidden Door as well. It does make me look at somebody like a Seth Rollins, because here's my take, and this is probably going to be the questionable take of the early part of this pod. You can be really popular. You can be the Elite. You can be Chris Jericho, CM Punk, like I say, Cody Rhodes, Bryan Danielson, whatever. And you can get a pop for your entrance, especially when your entrance is something that's... Oh, another one, I mean, before his heel turn, but everybody loved, singing along and waving their hands to Baltimora when Jungle Boy came out, and that was really cool. There's a little bit of me that thinks, for some wrestlers, not all wrestlers, some wrestlers, I'm not a big fan of Cody Rhodes, but I think Kingdom's an awesome song. There's a little bit of me that's like, okay, is that like 75% for the wrestler, 25% just because people like the song? I mean, Carry On My Wayward Son is a song that I liked way before it got attached to the Elite. So, are you getting 75% of a pop and then the other 25 is filled in by a really good song? Like, that's always a question that I've had. And it makes me look at somebody like Seth Rollins, in the sense that Seth Rollins had way better music before the music that he had now. His entrance now is like junk rock, like generic rock 5.mp3. It is. It's fine. He's made it work. But Seth Rollins is over in a way that he is getting his song over, and he has people singing along to this generic rock.wave thing that he's got going on. It's not because it's a good piece of music. So I think some great wrestlers out there have a bit of a cheat in their corner. And it just does, and I don't know why I thought this while I was sitting in the midst of a bunch of New Japan fans and AEW fans, and I thought, man, basically Seth Rollins gets a MIDI file over. Can't wait till the next time I see Seth Rollins, which is probably... I mean, he's on Raw, and I'm going to SmackDown in August, so, well, it won't be in August, but it'll be soon. Really, really fun, though. Funny story, I had two separate people come up to me on Sunday when I went to Forbidden Door, and they asked me, why would you wear that here? Because it'll surprise not a lot of you that I don't have a whole lot of AEW merch. I really don't. I want the Outcasts This Is My Offensive t-shirt, because that just makes me smile. But a lot of my merch, surprisingly or not, is WWE stuff. And I had the Edge shirt from WrestleMania, where it's all black and red and it's meant to look like all gothic and on the throne and whatever, and I like it, so I wore it. It's, I don't have to defend why I'm wearing a t-shirt, but I had two separate people in the venue in Scotiabank Arena come up to me at random and say, why would you wear that here? Which I thought was really strange, because those two incidences aside, I had a lot of really cool conversations with a lot of people in the crowd. I doubt it, but if there's anybody within the sound of my voice that chatted me up at the show and you happen to have happened upon this show, it was great to talk to all of you, and we got to talk about a lot of stuff. I was there super early for Collision as well, so obviously a topic of conversation was CM Punk. I got to go super deep with a couple people on where I stand on the whole CM Punk AEW thing, and a lot of people, even people that are Elite fans and people that are AEW fans and people that don't necessarily like CM Punk, were very, very cool to chat with, and I thought it was really cool. Completely different type of audience than a WWE show, and I've waffled on that way too long, but yeah. That being said, I was getting ready for that. I was sort of reacting to the first Collision in Chicago, and a couple of other things have happened, and I just haven't been with you guys in a while. I did WWE last week, 3 weeks ago, and that was the last bit of WWE content that you guys got from me. So it's been a while, and there's lots to talk about, but I figured I'll save it until now. We're doing Money in the Bank. I can touch on anything else that I need to touch on while we preview Money in the Bank, and at the end of next week, we'll talk about what happened at Money in the Bank. We'll talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT. There's a lot of NXT crossover stuff that's going on that's really, really cool right now. I do want to touch on that at some point, but that will not be tonight. The reason that this is also kind of a SmackDown preview as well is because WWE, doing their international shows, and you guys have heard me say ad nauseum, I love that they're doing the international shows, going to places where they haven't done pay-per-views in a long time, going to Montreal, going to San Juan, yes, going to Saudi Arabia, now they're going to the UK, apparently they're going to Ireland or Australia or India by the end of the year, which is awesome, because you're always going to get an electric crowd, and I hate to use this analogy, but the dog that hasn't had a treat today is going to love you if you give them a treat. Wrestling fans, and I include myself in this, because Canada gets it not as much as the US, but probably second because of, geography and stuff. We are pretty spoiled. So places that don't like I say, San Juan, Saudi Arabia, India, Ireland, Australia, the UK this weekend, they are going to be that hungry dog, and they are going to be more appreciative, and they are going to give you those really weirdly specific things. Like, we know in the UK, Bayley is going to get a huge pop. No matter how much you try to make her a heel, Bayley's going to get a pop. Io Sky got Bianca Belair booed in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So wrestlers that are used to how they get reacted to in their respective home turfs, call it the US, call it North America in general, they really have to test the waters. And then you've got people like Rhea Ripley and the Judgment Day and the Bloodline that are over everywhere. LA Knight, yeah. But the other thing that they've done with this, simply because of the travel involved, I think, not with the Saudi show obviously, but with San Juan, with Montreal, with this show we're talking about this weekend, SmackDown has become part of the pay-per-view weekend. The SmackDown going into the pay-per-view has almost become like the pre-show a day early. And it's becoming more associated with the pay-per-views than the Monday, because most of their shows, or most of their pay-per-views, are on Saturday now, and Monday's a day away, where it used to be the pay-per-views were on Sunday and SmackDown was 2 days ago. So what happens is you've got a SmackDown that feels like an elevated episode of SmackDown, and you get some of the matches that a couple of years ago would have been on the card. Now, that's cool in a way, because it gives you a really good reason to watch SmackDown. Watching SmackDown gets you hyped for the show the next day. Everything works, but it's also in the vein of they're trying not to have 27-hour pay-per-views. Oh yeah, by the way, for Forbidden Door on Sunday, I got home at 2:15 in the morning, because I'm not quite in Toronto and I was taking transit, so that was fun. Got home, very, very much smelled like downtown Toronto. So we are going to talk about SmackDown. There's not too much. We've got the Grayson Waller effect, and the guest is going to be Logan Paul. Now, apparently the reason that Grayson Waller hasn't wrestled yet on SmackDown is because he's dealing with a foot injury. Apparently he got a foot injury around the same time that Indy Hartwell did, if you trust the photos that are going around, which really sucks. But, I mean, at least they're putting him on TV. This is a very, very small version of what happened in NXT several years ago, when Corey Graves was on the rise and then he got injured, realized he couldn't wrestle anymore, and they put him on commentary. I think that's awesome in a way, because they called him up, and even though he can't wrestle, he's still stirring the pot. He's still getting his character out there. Like Miz, when Miz first debuted, and he was the host of SmackDown, and he was doing that hoorah stuff in the crowd in between matches. He wasn't really wrestling that much, but he got his name out there. People got to know who he was. Now, he's not the guy with the mohawk and the board shorts anymore, but the Miz is the Miz. Hopefully Grayson Waller can do the same thing. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that between Grayson Waller and LA Knight, Austin Theory has, no real leg to stand on, because they're all the same character, which is a bit problematic if you really want to dig into that statement. I don't think that's true. I think Austin Theory's doing the, aggressive asshole trying to make it, whereas Grayson Waller's just stirring the pot. And LA Knight is the bad guy that gets to walk into a building and be a bad guy and know that everybody loves him. One of the hugest pops, going backwards, Night of Champions, when they did the press conference before Night of Champions, he wasn't even on the press conference, and he was cheered throughout Triple H's whole address. And I thought that was really cool. Not only are you in a very, very distant place, not only are these people that would pop generally for Triple H, but they're popping for LA Knight, who wasn't there, who has nothing to do with Triple H directly, and who wasn't even on the card that the press conference was hyping up. So I thought that was a really, really cool thing. Again, going back to the unique reactions for unique people in unique places. Logan Paul being in Money in the Bank, we're going to talk about the match later on. Of course, Logan Paul's in Money in the Bank. He's got a great relationship with WWE. He's a multi-platform superstar that's going to get exposure for the company, and he's shown in his matches. You don't have to like him. You really don't have to like Logan Paul. I kind of do, because I got to know Logan Paul as Logan Paul, the WWE superstar. So I don't mind Logan Paul. I know he's done some stupid shit in the past. I know his brother's done some stupid shit in the past. But A, it's the past, and B, I'm not going to hold somebody's sibling against them. the two of these guys together on a mic are just, they're either going to be like best buddies, or they're just going to be like, they're going to have like an asshole off. Those are the two things that I would predict out of a show segment between the two of them. But we all know what this is really going to be. This is going to turn into a promo train. You're going to get all the other wrestlers that are in the match, and they're all it's going to be a brawl, and what's his name? Grayson Waller is going to stand behind his weird little selfie desk and watch everybody else fight, the same as he did with the women in that multi-woman segment a couple weeks ago. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. Happy to see Charlotte Flair back. I know that a lot of people aren't, because how dare she be white, blonde, successful with an unpopular dad. We don't need to go over that again. Asuka as the brand new, I don't want to say heel, because she's actually the all-conquering hero. Not all heroes wear capes. She saved that belt from Bianca Belair. Oh, yes. But seriously, Asuka's great. Come and genuinely argue with me that Asuka's not fucking great. Charlotte versus Asuka is going to be great. It's Asuka's first major title defense. I'm trying to think if she's defended it on SmackDown since the last show, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's her first major pay-per-view title defense. And of course, Bianca Belair is on commentary because she's been so hard done by, because after so much time, she's going around without a belt. I like the belts. Let's talk about the belts for a second. Yes, the belts on SmackDown are just gold versions of the old WWE titles, but I think on the other side of the coin, that gives platform to the two new belts on Raw that are both fucking gorgeous. Seth Rollins is making that world title look great, and Jesus Christ, Rhea Ripley, if she already wasn't a fucking star, look at her with that new World Women's Championship over her shoulder. It's a crime that Rhea Ripley doesn't have a match on this card, but also it's because she's also dealing with injury, which is awesome, and I like that WWE didn't get cold feet with her and immediately take the belt off her just because she's injured. Go out there, be a fucking star, do the little bits of interaction with people that you can. The stuff that she's been doing with Natalya is kind of hit or miss. I would have booked her a quick squash. Put her in there, because she's the monster of the division, put her in there like in an exhibition with somebody tiny like a Kacy Catanzaro. I mean, I like Katana Chance, sorry. I like Katana Chance. I think she's awesome. She's got this new 360 facebuster thing that she's doing. If you've seen it online, it looks fucking great. But she'll also die 1,000 deaths in a match with somebody like Rhea Ripley. So just to get her on the card, she's an awesome star. We know she's there. We've seen footage of her already online from the house shows that they're doing over there. I wish she had a match. That's all I'm going to say about that. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka is going to happen on SmackDown. Belair is going to be at ringside, and she's immediately going to challenge the winner, which means there's not really going to be a winner. And I am really nervous that WWE are going to do the WWE thing. They're going to bow to the Belair fans, because how can they not? And I think we're going to get a triple threat match thrown on the Money in the Bank card at the last minute, which is bullshit. Because that's the only thing that can happen, really. Either there's a no contest and this becomes a triple threat match. Either Charlotte Flair beats Asuka, which I agree would be bad because Asuka's awesome, and you get Belair versus Charlotte at Money in the Bank, or Asuka retains and then Belair steps up and gets another undeserved title shot, and that's something we have to put up with at Money in the Bank. At least in a triple threat, Asuka and Charlotte could like fuck her up a little bit. The rumor is that the trio of Bianca Belair and the Street Profits are going to turn heel. Now, the Street Profits are one of the most popular tag teams WWE has, and Bianca Belair has already been a heel for years, just nobody wants to admit it, so that doesn't make any sense. If she's going to turn heel, then she has to do it on a babyface, which means they're going to hot potato the title to Charlotte for a day, and then people are going to complain that Charlotte has a title reign that lasts a day, and then they're going to piss themselves in celebration when Bianca Belair squashes her the next night. I think this is terrible. You could have just signed Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the pay-per-view and told Belair to fuck off because you lost your title. You're going to the back of the line. Back of the line. I don't know what you were thinking. I'm saying back of the line. Going on. KO and Sammy, two more guys that should be on the card, if you ask me, but they're defending their what are they? The WWE Undisputed Unified Tag Team Champions. They're great. They're great as a team. Kevin Owens has been doing this freak out thing for the past little while. I think it's awesome. They're facing Pretty Deadly. This is just to get Pretty Deadly on a pay-per-view, I think. And they are what they are, but there's other people, there's other teams out there that I would love to see in this spot. I mean, you could ruin the Street Profits by turning them heel to put them with Bianca Belair, who's freshly turned heel even though she's already a heel. Or you could do KO and Sammy, who both have a good, respectful relationship with the Street Profits, and just have 4 guys go out there with a let's show them what we can fucking do mentality. But instead, we're doing Pretty Deadly. Now, what I will say is I think this does get us some Austin Theory on the show on Friday. And that might not necessarily be a terrible thing. If Austin Theory gets involved and we get a trios match set up for Money in the Bank, and it's KO, Sammy, and somebody else taking on Pretty Deadly and Austin Theory, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would be a nice little filler match. It would be a nice little, it would be a match to squeeze in between the 2 ladder matches, for example. But I wouldn't mind that whatsoever, because although I don't really have much to say about Pretty Deadly as a tag team, the trio of Pretty Deadly and Austin Theory is something that's quite entertaining. So you got 2 title matches on SmackDown. One of them's going to be a schmoz, and one of them's pretty predictable, because KO and Sammy ain't losing those belts anytime soon. Oh, excuse me. I will say, with all the belt play that's happened recently, I am surprised that we don't have unified men's tag team title belts yet. I've seen some designs floating around Twitter. I like some of them. I hate some of them. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, and here's the thing. If you want to unify those belts, if you want to unify those tag team title belts, go back to the immediate previous design. And I know people hate that. I know people called them the penny belts and blah, 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 blah. They are the title belt design that makes the most sense. What's a tag team? A tag team is 2 warriors going to battle. What's on those belts? 2 helmets. 2 warriors going to battle. And oh my god, it's copper. That makes them look like pennies, whatever. It's something different. What are belts? What are belt plates? Silver and gold. Silver and gold, silver and gold. Unless you've got belts like a lot of the belts in Impact, or some of the belts in AEW where there's splash of color on the title plate, which I'm not going to lie is not my favorite thing. But most of the time it's silver or gold, or in the case of AEW's belt and WWE's newest belts, you've got silver on gold, which isn't terrible, if you ask me. But the fact that those other titles, before they got the silver versions on the red and blue straps, you had the exact same title design on the black straps with the copper in the middle. It was just different, and it was good. And like I say, the iconography of those belts was really good. I know I'm on an island with that one. It's absolutely fine. They're probably going to get new belts. That's also absolutely fine. Walter versus Riddle is the first match I want to talk about on the actual Money in the Bank card. Walter versus Riddle is going to be an awesome match. Again, this is another place where I think Owens and Zayn are going to get involved with the other 2 members of Imperium. Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser are going to probably get chased off by Zayn and Owens, because Zayn and Riddle are friends. Owens and Riddle are like frenemies, and Owens can freak out on the outside. But once you get those distractions out of the way, Walter versus Riddle is just a really good match. Now, Walter has been defending that championship. Walter has gone head-to-head with both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in pretty awesome, underrated matches on Raw, in my opinion. Riddle ain't winning. I'm just going to put it out there. Riddle ain't winning. He's going to get squashed. I think he's going to get the shit kicked out of him by Imperium. And I know it's been a rumor for a long-ass time now, and I don't want the guy to come back if he's not 100% physically ready to come back. You know, you never want to rush that shit. But the rumor is that Randy Orton is going to be in the UK, and he might make his return in at Money in the Bank. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. If he's ready to come back, big show in the UK. The UK crowds are always hot. And you do have to look a little bit past this show to SummerSlam, and a huge Intercontinental Championship match for Walter would be Walter versus Randy Orton. Walter versus a triumphantly returning from injury Randy Orton would be pretty fucking sick. I'm not gonna lie. Walter's winning it. He's gonna hold on to that Intercontinental Championship. He's doing a good job. And by the way, the IC title is another pretty good looking title that nobody likes just because it's not the old way, which, I don't know, I like it, it's fine. The brand new, undisputed women's tag team champions, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, are defending against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, who herself has just come back from injury. Now, a couple of different stories going into this. Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler had a really, I don't want to say awesome match, better than I was expecting match against the former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who I really like, but I didn't expect them to beat Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, let's be real. And the holders of the WWE titles are not going to beat the holders of the NXT titles. Anyway, so hopefully that doesn't completely push them to the bottom of the bucket, but technically Raquel and Liv, because of Liv's injury, never lost their titles. They're the next ones in line. That makes 100% sense. They're going to lose. They're going to lose in spectacular fashion. And it helps Rousey and Baszler on two different levels. Because Rousey and Baszler are killers. Mostly Baszler. Ronda Rousey is more of a fight celebrity rather than Shayna Baszler, as we all remember her as the Kick-Ass in NXT. The Kick-Ass that had her women's championship match with Rhea Ripley, which was the episode of NXT that beat AEW Dynamite. Let's not forget about that. But go back to that night in NXT, and beating Shayna Baszler was one fucking hell of a big deal. That Shayna Baszler vibe needs to rub off on Ronda Rousey, and who would have ever thought that it would have been that way around? They are killers, and they need to be presented as killers because they are the most legitimate option if we're ever going to think seriously about this particular division that WWE is trying to have. And they win on two fronts here. They win by beating Raquel Rodriguez, who is the powerhouse, who's the new big, not quite as much as Rhea Ripley, but she's the other big powerhouse in the women's division that WWE is trying to push. And they clearly like, because they're clearly putting her on a lot of pedestals. So beating her is a big deal, but also Liv Morgan, who is A, just come back, B, just come back from injury, C, has a cult following of her own, and you're going to break all of those people, specifically all of their hearts. So it's a dominant monster-making victory on two fronts for them. They're going to retain. I don't think Raquel and Liv lose anything by this. I think somebody is saying that Raquel should turn on Liv Morgan after this. Why? Like, just let Liv Morgan have a time. You gave Liv Morgan the title in a situation that absolutely made her look like a fool, so that everybody could say, oh my god, I can't believe she beat Ronda Rousey. And they made kind of a joke of it, and then they kind of booked her like a brat for a while, and it's just like, she's really awesome, and she has her own little entrenched following. Why would you not nurture that? I don't get it. WWE's not perfect, obviously, but this is going to be a very, very functional step forward for the new undisputed women's tag team champions. Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. Sorry. It's going to be big dumb fun, which is good, because it's better than what Cody Rhodes has been doing since the Brock Lesnar thing. The whole fact that he beat Brock Lesnar with a roll-up, and then Brock Lesnar broke his arm, and then he's gone on to just fight people with a broken arm. It's exactly the booking that Cody Rhodes fans want for him, because, oh my god, there's a one-armed man in an ass-kicking contest, and blah, 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 and he's gonna, beat Dominic Mysterio with his cast, and we're gonna pretend that it's not a weapon. It's like the Bianca Belair hair whip. It's gonna be stupid. Everybody from Judgment Day, I know everybody in the Judgment Day has other stuff to do on the night. Everybody from the Judgment Day just needs to come in and put a thump on Cody Rhodes. They really, really do. Now, one thing I did say, because everybody else is busy on the night, I think that you can conscript somebody for this. Oh, I should have said before as well, in the Walter Riddle match, I've speculated that Owens and Zayn might get rid of Vinci and Kaiser. Now, the other rumor is, coming up from NXT, is Ilya Dragunov, that he might be coming up and might be joining Imperium, which everybody's freaking out about because, oh my god, they fought so much in other companies. Well, they're in WWE now, so they can do WWE things. Ilya Dragunov coming in and assisting Walter after the friggin' banger they had in the empty studio during the COVID period would be fine. And you'd also get, out of that, you would get Ilya Dragunov versus Matt Riddle at some point, which is something I would really love to see. I'm not going to lie. On a side note, for the AEW fans out there, is it just me, or am I really, really curious about what MJF versus Cesaro would look like? I don't know why. I thought about that earlier today. Sorry, Claudio. Claudio Castagnoli versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman, champion versus champion at some point. Would be a lot of fun. I don't care how you get there. I know they're both heels. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyways, Ilya Dragunov might join Imperium, blah, 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 blah. The other thing is the rumor that JD McDonough, who has been drafted to the main roster already, could be conscripted by the Judgment Day. Now, because Rhea Ripley technically can't get involved in things because she's injured or whatever, and, you know, nothing between Cody and Rhea Ripley is ever going to amount to a match, even though it should, because Cody Rhodes getting the Riptide would just about make my life. What if Finn Balor says, hey, I'm busy tonight, hey, Priest is busy tonight as well. JD McDonough goes out to have Dominic Mysterio's back in his match against Cody Rhodes. And then you sort of spin off into a weird Cody Rhodes versus JD McDonough thing, because JD does the whole, like, I like to break down people's bodies and I like to cause them all the pain and all. I shouldn't do accents, it's terrible. But put a guy like that against a guy who's supposedly, and I'm using the tightest air quotes possible, fighting through a broken arm. Also, shout out to Bryan Danielson for actually fighting with a broken arm this past Sunday in Toronto. This would be a really cool, unique opportunity to introduce JD McDonough, because JD McDonough coming out to help Finn Balor against Rollins, which we're going to talk about in a minute, would be the predictable thing. If Finn Balor is so confident and so focused on getting his revenge on Seth Rollins that he wants to do it himself, he's like, here's a different kind of challenge for you. Dom's our boy. Show me how you can help him out. That would be a really, really cool thing. Unfortunately, the Codyverse has come to WWE. He's going to beat Dom. It's going to suck all the fun out of the room. And that's going to be that. And like I said, I want to see Rhea Ripley hit the Riptide on Cody Rhodes, because it will make me smile. It will make me smile a lot. Let's talk about the Money in the Bank ladder matches themselves, because they are not the biggest things on this card, unfortunately. I love Money in the Bank. I love it as a concept. I love ladder matches in general. People are saying now that we overdo them between the two big companies, and I say you really can't overdo a ladder match. Even Big Show bringing out his big double ladder when he broke the step was a little bit fun. Money in the Bank is an awesome concept. It is an awesome match. It's really, really cool that they're bringing Money in the Bank to the UK, but these are not the matches that I'm looking forward to on the night, just because there are two that are better. But women's Money in the Bank match, I love the narrative around the women's Money in the Bank match. Oh, you know, nobody's ever held it longer than a week because, you know, WWE treats their women so terrible, except Carmella held it for like 200 and something days. Well, yeah, but besides her. Okay. This is not one of those exception makes the rule things. If somebody held it for 200 plus days, you can't say nobody's held it longer than a week. You can't. Anyways, it's a pretty decent field as well. Some of it's predictable, some of it's not. Some of it is like, these people already have stories and they can just spin off into those stories. But you got Zelina Vega, you've got Becky Lynch, you've got Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark, who are kind of a unit now, which is really cool, like the mentor-student heel thing. And you've got Bayley and Io both in there representing Damage Control. Shout out to Dakota Kai, who's still healing up from all of her injuries. Hope she comes back soon and maybe give her a face run. I don't know. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, and here is the thing. For both of the matches, I've got who's probably going to win and who I would like to win. Becky's not going to win because Becky's going to continue her issue with Trish and Zoe and whatever. She's going to rekindle some stuff with Bayley, I think, as well. That's just a wild prediction. Bayley's going to be over as hell because they're in the UK. That's just what happens. Everybody else in this match is going to be heel in the UK because the UK fucking loves Bayley. Now, here's my thing. One of the coolest, like, bubbling under, nobody really wants to admit how cool it is, things going on in WWE right now is the quick rise of the LWO. Now, again, people want to squash this immediately. They're like, oh, Santos is going to turn on Ray, and it's not going to last long, and they're going to break all of our hearts. Why? It's just a fun group, and they're having a good fucking time. Just leave it alone. Zelina Vega and Santos Escobar are pushing really hard for this Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank. They're going to bring both briefcases to the LWO, which means it's absolutely not going to happen. That's the kind of heartache I like in wrestling. This really wholesome, heartfelt idea gets put out there just to be snatched away. But Zelina Vega is a fucking star too. Like, I used to say it all the time with Rhea Ripley in the Mae Young Classic, in NXT UK, in NXT proper, when she came to the main roster and they kind of faltered with her for a little bit. I always used to say, Rhea Ripley fucking star. Zelina Vega has always been awesome, but right now Zelina Vega is having a moment. She really is. I would really love it if Zelina Vega won. I really would. I don't think you do any wrong with that. I think she could even be, and this is going to sound like a back-ass word compliment, but she could be the first woman to cash in Money in the Bank and fail, and I don't think it would hurt her that much, because that's the kind of wave and love and support that her and the rest of the LWO have right now. I think she could achieve that. More realistically speaking, it's going to be Io Sky. It's going to be Io Sky because it's going to facilitate the Io Sky face turn. It's going to facilitate Bayley and her having a little bit of a mini feud because how dare you go for the briefcase? We're a team. We were supposed to be working as a team to get me the briefcase. And ultimately, once she beats Charlotte Flair, if Bianca Belair can manage to fuck off for 5 minutes, we're going to get a proper feud between Io Sky and Asuka, and that's going to be fucking awesome. It really is. I love the energy they have when they're doing the promos. Yes, I don't know a thing that they're saying because they're both speaking in Japanese, but it's the energy of it. And I think let off the leash a little bit because WWE does keep the wrestlers on a leash. Let's be real for a second. But I think let off the leash. These two are going to get into a ring and slap 10 bells out of each other, and it's going to be fucking awesome. If Io Sky wins the briefcase, and in the process of winning the briefcase, breaks up Damage Control, Bayley heals it up, makes sure that everybody knows that Io Sky is the face. Io Sky does the baby face thing and says, I'm going to tell you when I'm cashing in, Asuka. Don't make any plans for SummerSlam. Io Sky, Asuka at SummerSlam is fucking great. I would love it to be Zelina Vega, like I say, because she's having a moment right now. Realistically, it's going to be Io Sky, so that Io Sky can have a mini feud with Bayley before she wins the championship off of Asuka. Becky, Trish, and Zoe, they're all concerned with each other. They don't lose anything by losing this match because they are going to cancel each other out. And that's going to be absolutely fine. I think the match is going to be great. I think, along with Zelina Vega, I think Zoe Stark being like the new kid on the block, and I don't mean that in a bad way, is really going to try and show out in this match. Zoe Stark, she's playing the student Trish Stratus right now, but if you saw her in NXT, you know she can fucking go. I think it's going to be really, really cool. And Bayley's always class. And like I say, she's going to be the most over person in the building when they get to the UK. Where are they? The O2 Arena? Is that what it's called? Somebody correct me down in the box below. The men's match has 7. And people are complaining about that. Well, why does the men's match have 7 people and the women's match only has 6? Maybe because they want them to be different. Absolutely fuck off. Ricochet, Damian Priest, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, yeah, Santos Escobar, Butch, and Logan Paul. Now, let's do some things really quick here. Ricochet and Nakamura are going to cancel each other out because they're feuding right now with Bronson Reed. So I'm also kind of predicting that Bronson Reed is going to come into the match, even though he's not in the match, and fuck up both of them so they could be wiped out completely. Santos Escobar and Butch, Santos Escobar riding that same wave with the LWO that I talked about a second ago. Butch, Pete Dunne, you guys know from his days as the Destiny champion, me sitting front row in the Don Kolov arena watching him fight Josh Alexander. I would love to see Pete Dunne get a push, have that push start with the Money in the Bank briefcase, etc., etc., etc. But, I mean, are they going to let Pete Dunne cash in on Roman Reigns? Are they going to let Pete Dunne cash in on Seth freaking Rollins when that would mean bringing an entire faction over to Raw? I don't see it. So Ricochet and Nakamura are going to toss each other out. Santos Escobar and Butch are both going to contribute awesome things in this match. I predict it, and I look forward to it. It's kind of like a Kofi Kingston in the Royal Rumble situation. He might have the coolest spot in the match, but he's not going to win. And that's not a terrible place to be. Like I said, Butch has things to go back to. He's in the Brawling Brutes. Santos has the LWO. Ricochet and Nakamura and Bronson Reed are all going to keep fighting each other, unless they do like the last chance battle royal thing and Bronson Reed wins tonight on SmackDown as you guys are listening to this now, and he gets put in, and then the three of them just take each other out from inside the match. Same result, kind of. So you're left with Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Logan Paul. And here we go. Once again, who makes the most sense? Who's the most over? Who's riding that similar kind of wave? Who does the crowd love? You know, Stone Cold Rock Austin, as he's being accused of being anyway. And that's LA Knight. Yeah. LA Knight winning would be fucking awesome. LA Knight, if he won the Money in the Bank briefcase, would have to cash in on Seth Rollins. He would have to cash in on Seth Rollins because that would be too good. The promos would be too good. The audacity of both of them would be off the fucking charts, and it would be a lot of fun. LA Knight, if you take out the celebrity aspect for a second, and yes, I'm going to talk about that in a second, LA Knight winning this match is the right call. The fans are calling for it. Apparently Triple H is half of the booking room, if you want to talk about the tug of war between him and Vince. Apparently Triple H is half of the booking room is calling for LA Knight. I really want it to be Damian Priest. I really do. The same way I really want it to be Zelina Vega. I had said, and it's proving to be true, that the two guys from the two biggest factions in WWE that were left out of WrestleMania, Damian Priest and Solo Sikoa, had to have a phenomenal year this year. Solo's going to. It's going to be in the Fall of the Bloodline, however that comes out. We're going to talk about that in a second. Damian Priest is getting babyface reactions in his matches. He had the really cool match when Raw was up here in Toronto with Edge. That was a lot of fun. He had a match, 2 weeks ago with Seth Rollins leading to the Balor match, and it was received really well. He's getting positive responses. His match with Bad Bunny at San Juan, Puerto Rico has the people that don't even like WWE talking about WWE. So, with rumors of the disintegration of the Bloodline, or of the Judgment Day, which would be absolutely stupid, I would love to see Damian Priest win Money in the Bank. Now, the other side of it is, and it's one of those, if this happens, I'm just going to laugh things. If Logan Paul wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, there's a lot you can, there's more than you think of that you could play with there, because he's already got a history of fighting for a championship against Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, who never technically beat Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, who cashed in Money in the Bank for the heist of the century at WrestleMania on who? Roman Reigns. Rollins, who fought who at WrestleMania this past year? Logan Paul. I think there's so much to play with there, as far as both of the reigning champions, as far as the crowd just not wanting it to happen and pulling their hair out, as far as every single time they say, Logan Paul's going to be back with us next Monday on Raw, like they announced that he was going to be on SmackDown tonight. Every time they announce, hey, next Monday on Raw, we've got the return of Logan Paul, or, Payback is coming up, and I think it's in Pittsburgh. Somebody correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong. But hey, our our special guest in Pittsburgh is going to be Logan Paul. Oh my God, who's he going to cash in on? Is he going to cash in on Roman? Is he going to cash in on Seth Rollins? He has history with both of them. Both of them have history with Money in the Bank. Don't forget that when Jon Moxley was still Dean Ambrose, there was a night not too distant in the WWE's past that because of a Money in the Bank cash in, all 3 members of the Shield called themselves champion in the same night. So there's a lot, like, as much as people don't want to admit it, there's a lot of really cool story threads you could pull with Logan Paul carrying around that goddamn briefcase and Rollins and Reigns being the respective champions. There's a lot to play with there. It'll be a lot of fun, and what's my favorite phrase? It would piss off all the right people, but I can't say that it would be right. Do LA Knight, even though I really want it to be Damian Priest. Everybody else is, I hate to say it, everybody else in this match is window dressing. Ricochet, Nakamura, Santos Escobar, and Butch are all window dressing in this match. They're window dressing that are going to contribute heavily to the match, don't get me wrong. And I mean, remember too, there's that Royal Rumble history with Ricochet and Logan Paul that I'm sure they want to recreate, except throw a ladder in the mix, because that's not going to make it more dangerous. But the 3 names in this match are Priest, Knight, and Logan Paul. And that's where I sit. The right choice is Knight, the fun choice is Logan, the personal choice for me is Damian Priest. Same thing with the ladies. The right choice, and probably the better choice, is Io Sky. My dark horse choice, I guess you could say, is Zelina Vega, which brings us to one of the championships. The only championship that's being defended tonight, the only world title being defended tonight, and that's Seth Rollins' brand new World Heavyweight Championship being defended against Finn Balor. Now, they've done a really cool thing here where the Judgment Day is still fun, but Balor has successfully broken away from the fun of the Judgment Day to show how serious this, like, simmering issue that he's got with Seth Rollins is. They're playing off, like, what was it, 7 or 8 years ago when they first introduced the Universal Championship, and it was between Balor and Seth Rollins, and that would have been the coolest moment in the world for Balor, but he took the barricade bomb and fucked himself up and had to give it up the next night, and rah. And Rollins was a heel at the time, so he laughed at him, and that sat in the back of Balor's head forever and ever and ever. First things first. This has to be the demon. This has to be the demon. It has to be the demon Finn Balor. Like, serious demon Finn Balor. Not necessarily like the purple grape version of the demon that we got at WrestleMania. But yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Give me the version of the demon that came out at NXT TakeOver London, like with the top hat wielding the chainsaw. But it has to be the demon, and it has to be Seth Rollins, and as much as I love the Judgment Day, like, it has to be Hulk Hogan leaving the rest of the NWO in the back for this. And again, I really want it to be Balor. I really do. I don't think it will be, and that's fine. I don't know. I think you get back around to this at a bigger stage. Like I mean, we got SummerSlam coming up in Detroit. There could be some shenanigans and a rematch, and Balor Rollins 2 at SummerSlam. If you put Balor Rollins 2 on the same card as Io Sky versus Asuka, you got a pretty damn good card. Throw in a defense for Rhea Ripley in there and whatever Roman Reigns is doing at the time. You got the beginnings of a pretty damn good SummerSlam right there. Rollins is awesome. Rollins is doing. He knows what people are saying online about this title. It's a consolation prize, blah, 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 even though it's really not. But that's what people who shit on WWE would like to say, so we will go with it. I think he has to do what he's doing with the title more so that Balor snatching it away means more. That's why, as much as I would love to see it, I'm getting repetitive now. I'm starting to think that in the long run, it might be better at a round 2 at SummerSlam. There might be somebody bigger coming for Rollins at SummerSlam anyway, but if this one doesn't go to plan, Rollins retains, and Judgment Day just fucks with him until he gets a rematch. Step it up, do whatever. People are going to hate me for saying this. Put it in Hell in the Cell so that Seth Rollins can shake off the bad Hell in the Cell vibes. Make sure it's not the red cage. Do a proper cage. Keep the Judgment Day out, etc., etc., etc. Balor should beat Seth Rollins for that title. I don't think it happens this weekend, as much as I would love it. And the main event, and I'm sorry, but it will be the main event, because it just will, because it's cinema. We're going to stop watching wrestling, we're going to hop over into the theater, and we're going to watch some cinema. It is the Bloodline Civil War, with the Usos breaking away from Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman to take on Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Jimmy broke away. Jay had that awesome promo where he ripped into his own brother about how he's always been jealous of him and whatever and whatever. And he says, by the way, you're out of the bloodline, and so am I. And the double super kicks to Roman. And yes, the internet exclusive that everybody was sharing all over social media is Roman Reigns getting up from being beaten down by his cousins right as that line from the Usos music came across the speakers. It's not paranoia, it's the Usos. It's cinema. Here's the deal. Here's what's going to happen. And if it happens this weekend, or if we get the start of it this weekend, if it happens at SummerSlam, if it happens at whatever the case may be, there's one person left, I should say, that should take that title off of Roman Reigns. And nobody agrees with me. Everybody wants to fight with me, and that's fine. You can stay mad. You can stay mad. You can argue with the wall. You can die mad, as some people like to tell me all the time. The only person that makes sense to unseat Roman Reigns at this point is Jey Uso. The entire Bloodline saga has to end where it began. They were right. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it. They were right to have Cody Rhodes lose at WrestleMania, because ending the story, as Cody Rhodes put it, was the wrong move. Because the story that needs to end is the Bloodline. The story that needed to end wasn't Cody Rhodes. The story that needed to end was the Bloodline, which has been going on for, what, like 3 years now, and he came in for the last 5 minutes for a cup of coffee? No. They dropped it with Sami Zayn in Montreal. That would have been cool. They dropped it with Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble. That would have been cool. But even them, they came in maybe, what, like halfway through. Sami Zayn joined them like halfway through. Kevin Owens, trying to save his buddy from them, came on a little bit after that. The Bloodline started with Roman Reigns coming back, announcing himself to the world finally as a heel. Announcing himself to the world as a guy who's going to do shady tactics, and that's why he's got the wise man with him. And what did he do? He found himself some backup in the form of his cousin Jay. He gaslit the fuck out of Jey Uso because Jimmy wasn't there, or Jimmy was dealing with his own problems. Mistreated the fuck out of him. They fought. They fought in main events of pay-per-views, in main events of weekly shows, just so that he could basically make a display of kicking the shit out of his cousin, so that his cousin would be his lapdog. And the other cousin that tried to come back and save him got sucked in too. Sami Zayn came in along the way. When none of them were allowed to come and help him, we bring in the last cousin, and that was Solo Sikoa. But it all started... The whole idea of the Bloodline started. The whole idea of Roman Reigns suckering people in and realizing that he could gaslight people into backing him, and realizing that he could surf the backs of the people that he kept below him, started with Jey Uso. Jey Uso has to be the one to unseat Roman Reigns. And if you want to start that this weekend, you have Jey pin Roman in the tag. And you have the Usos win the Bloodline Civil War. That's how you do it. I don't think they're going to do that. I really, really don't. There's a weird part of me that thinks there's going to be a flip-flop of Paul Heyman in this. Like, not that he would side with the Usos, but that he goes to protect Solo Sikoa as like his next cash cow because he sees Roman Reigns is starting to lose it. And even though they're on the same team, that causes enough friction to get the Usos the win. So that Roman's on his own because the Usos are over here. Solo Sikoa is Paul Heyman's new cash cow, and he gets left on an island, ironically, even though he's the champion. The one that comes out of all this at the lowest point is the fucking million-day champion, undisputed king of WWE, Roman Reigns. And how does he end up at the bottom of the barrel, where all the people around him have pretty much nothing? Solo's new. The Usos aren't champions right now. Paul Heyman is just a rat, pretty much. The entire dynamic of this, the way it works right now, is Roman Reigns sitting back after he got those kicks from the Usos, saying, how dare they do this? And the biggest reason he can sit there believably and say, how dare they do this, is because in his own mind, he's keeping that team together. In his own mind, they failed at WrestleMania and I succeeded. How dare they turn on me? They should be following me. And that part that works, the crux of why this is working in June/July of 2023, in the current moment that we are in right now, the reason that works is because the Usos lost their titles at WrestleMania, and, listen to me very carefully, because Roman didn't. That's why it works. He would have no bullets left in his gun to use against the family that he's been abusing for 3 years if he lost his title too, because they'd all be flat on their backs together, and that wouldn't work. The Usos wouldn't have anything to push back against. You know, the idea of being a hero is to speak truth to power. They are speaking truth to power because Roman still has the power. And I'm sorry, to the short-sighted Cody Rhodes fans out there, if you can't see that, then we, politely I'm going to say, we just can't have this conversation right now. Sorry. Roman takes his first pinfall in 3 years, and he does it... Sorry. He gets his shoulders pinned for the first time in 3 years, and that pin comes at the hands of Jay. And this time, the Usos are not divided. This time, Jay gets the pin and Jimmy's happy to see it. And Solo just sits there in the background saying, what the fuck do I do now? And Paul Heyman sits at the outside being animated as hell, as he always is, shitting his pants and being the Walrus. Jey Uso pins Roman Reigns, and then we repeat that at SummerSlam. Sorry, I know it's not popular, but all of this worked because Cody Rhodes lost at WrestleMania. All of this, everything going into this match, and why this match that's not for any titles is more important than Seth's new awesome title, that it's more important than Walter making the IC title look amazing. It's more important than whatever Cody Rhodes is doing on this card, let alone the fact that he's going to be beating up Dominic with a cast that he shouldn't be able to use. It's more important than the Money in the Bank matches that are the crux of this particular event. And it all works, and it all sits on Roman Reigns' shoulders because he pinned Cody's at WrestleMania. Yep. That's all I got. This is going to be a hell of a show. I'm looking forward to SmackDown. I'm looking forward to Money in the Bank. I gave you guys some thoughts on, some quick thoughts on Collision and Forbidden Door. They were really cool. I have put up some shorts, some photos on Twitter and Facebook, some video shorts on YouTube. If you want to go check those out, please feel free. Please check out me finally being able to sit in a live crowd and sing Judas with a bunch of awesome wrestling fans. Shout out to everybody that I met on the weekend. You guys were all awesome. I hope at least one of you stumbles on this podcast somehow. Tell me what you guys are looking forward to at Money in the Bank. Tell me what you think about the Bloodline. Tell me what you think about the Judgment Day. Tell me what you think about the LWO, because I think they fall through the cracks a lot. What are your picks for the Money in the Bank ladder matches, and how do you think the Bloodline Civil War is going to end? I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, glad to be back. I'm tagging out. Bye.